Hello. So, episode 4 today of Our Epic Generation. So, the series is dedicated to showcasing the amazing, inspiring, and simply interesting things that our generation is up to. So, some of you might have heard me talk about climate change and sustainability and our current climate crisis. But today, I want to introduce you all to Alex. Here he is. Alex, how are you, man?
Yeah, good, thanks. How about yourself?
Yeah, good, man. Good. Just the usual stage 4 Victorian lockdowns.
Oh, yeah.
Can't complain too much. But like us to introduce you, you're a subject matter expert in this whole climate crisis space, for me anyway, in our generation. Do some really cool things in your own life. But if we just jump straight into it, I guess with coronavirus and the lockdowns, we're all focusing on that, the numbers, the media, all of it. But there is focus taken away from the climate crisis and the issues that will come in time if we don't solve those issues more sooner rather than later. But I guess
Mm.
the question is, with greenhouse gas emissions and carbon emissions at an all-time low with everything that's happening, the lockdowns that happened, we now have an opportunity, like a once in a lifetime opportunity, to create a more sustainable system whilst also creating more employment opportunities and um, social benefits. Could you just
Mm.
explain your thoughts and ideas and solutions?
Yeah. So I think, what one point is we've kind of been in this situation before. So if you look back 100 years, you had a pandemic, the Spanish flu, and you also had economic depression, the Great Depression,
Yeah.
which it seems like we may be heading into something similar. And if we look at how we got out of that situation, it was through a massive spending program, particularly in the US. And that was something called the New Deal done by President Roosevelt. So there's an opportunity to do something similar, but instead of New Deal, do something called the Green New Deal. So I'm not sure if
Okay.
that's something you've heard of
No, I haven't.
at
Please,
all.
please elaborate. Yeah.
So basically, the plan is to spend a lot of money on solving climate change and also at the same time creating a lot of jobs, as you mentioned. So
Yeah.
it's
Nice.
something that's been pushed by Democratic candidates in the US,
Yeah.
and Joe Biden, who's running for president at the moment, he's actually pledged $2 trillion to be spent on climate change action. So
Wow,
is that
that's
something you've?
phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah, it's a crazy amount of money.
Mm.
So
But the
yeah, it'd
science
be good to.
backs all that, doesn't it? Like it's not just chucking coin at nice fluffy renewables, which obviously you and I love. But
Mm.
it's also there's science backing the fact that there's a lot of jobs that are created. The social issues as well, right? It's not just tackling the environmental.
Yeah, true. So that Green New Deal does also include some things about social security and not leaving people behind,
Mm,
particularly say people working coal jobs, in fossil fuel industries
yeah,
in particular. Yeah.
yeah, nice. And if we bring that back to Australia more locally, internationally, that's fantastic. Europe's ahead of most of all of us. Um, Scandinavia is a great example. US is doing some interesting things as well, which is like Biden you just mentioned. But if we bring it locally,
Mm.
what's the situation here, and what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, yeah. So here it's probably not so positive. So at the moment, the Australian government is planning for a gas-powered recovery. So that's
Mm.
looking at expanding extraction of natural gas, removing environmental regulations to achieve that. So
See, I'm trying to
something
be
that,
like the devil's advocate here and trying to grill your thoughts and ideas. But like for me, it's been proven that 2019 renewables dropped lower than fossil fuels in terms of dollars per kilowatt hour, the cost.
mm,
And
Yeah.
then the whole, extractive resources, like we've talked about, fossil fuels like gas, natural gas, like they're destructive to the environment. We know that, science backs that. But it perplexes me. I guess what else solutions could we push as a society? Obviously, there's the election piece we can do in the future when we go to vote again, state and federal. But what could we do in the meantime? Is there like pushing organizations to invest more, transition more, divest away from fossil fuels? Any ideas there?
Yeah, so the two biggest things you can do in terms of investment is your super and your bank.
Yeah.
So switching those to companies that invest in renewable energy. And in terms of the Bank Australia comes up number one for that. And then in terms of super, there's Future Super and also Australian Ethical Super, which I'd recommend.
Yeah, no, you got me on board with those. So I made the switch a couple of years ago. So it's Australian Ethical Super and Future Super for superannuation, and Bank Australia for sustainable banks. But I also know that there's this website called Market Forces, and they actually go through, they analyze all the banks and then how much they've invested in fossil fuels, which is pretty cool. There's quite a few others as well, I've noticed, but Bank Australia probably is ahead of the game there. The other one I know is PowerShop for energy. It's PowerShop's a sustainable, one of the most sustainable electricity or energy providers we have here, which is cool. All right, the last topic. You as an energy analyst and an electrical engineer, everyone's in lockdowns, COVID. We're going to head to a recessionary environment. Budgets are going to be tighter. People are going to be unemployed, sadly. What are the top 3 ways you recommend that households can save dollars during COVID and lockdown and working from home life from an energy and overall cost point of view?
So first one, not related to energy at all, is gardening.
Yep.
So planting a few crops in your backyard. Particularly good to start with something like greens, like lettuce, herbs, because they're pretty easy to grow, and also they're really expensive at the supermarket.
Yep.
Number 2, I'd recommend draft proofing and insulation to make your home more comfortable and also use less heating and cooling.
Yep.
And then the third one's change over to LED lighting.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And those things can save the biggest dollars or lowest capital investment, and you're saving the dollars. That's basically what you're saying, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. So you could also look at, say, upgrading your air conditioning, but that's going to be a bit more expensive.
And I'm guessing the same with solar, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's a similar, relatively large investment, but is also going to have a larger benefit.
Yeah, for sure. Same with buying a Tesla.
Well, yeah, that's it. Yep.
Is there anything else you wanted to add to this piece, man? So climate crisis, sustainability, and looking ahead to the future.
It's going to be interesting to see what the Australian government does. If they push forward with this gas-powered plan, I think there's a lot of people that are going to be unhappy with it.
Yeah.
And I expect there may be a bit of a protest movement against it.
Yeah.
Which is going to be interesting during COVID.
Yeah.
And also, if they're successful in being able to implement it, I can't really see it having much of a economic benefit, because at the moment the demand for gas is super low. Like we've seen, the demand for petrol, coal, they've also plummeted. So be interesting to see how it all turns out.
That's it, man. So there you have it. Yeah, we have the best opportunity right now to transition to a more sustainable and green economy going forward, creating lots more jobs. Top 3 recommendations from Alex. You can switch to sustainable banks, sustainable super funds, and sustainable electricity and energy providers. And gardening from home will save some big dollars. Draft proofing and weatherproofing your house, essentially containing it so you're leaking out energy less. It's going to save you big dollars during COVID and lockdowns. And the last thing was LED lights. So they're the 3 recommendations Alex has, where you can save dollars during COVID, during lockdowns, and as we head to a new normal and sadly a bit of a recessionary environment going forward. Alex, thanks for your time, man. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
Keep the conversation going.